Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, Section 12. King Janaka practiced spiritual reflection, what is known as vichar. What made him practice? Because during his spiritual practice, he listened to the songs of Siddhas. In a storyline, he went into his garden for relaxation. And there, suddenly he began to experience presence of great personalities. And then he began to listen. They were saying something. These points I have explained to you. You don't have to take them literally. Inspiration comes from within. Sometimes it matches up with the sound of a bird. You can conjure up in your mind that a sage came, sat into the heart of the bird, and spoke out. In the poetic world, we have absolute freedom. And we are not doing anything wrong, because ultimately God is behind everything. Simple point is that if a person is ready, spiritually prepared, divine inspiration will come in a spontaneous way. If you open a window in your house, the rays of the sun will enter the room spontaneously, the moment you begin to open. King Janaka was in that stage, and therefore he received profound inspiration. Put it in a very practical way, you practice meditation, certain degree of sattva enters within, and inspiring thoughts enter into your heart. And you are surprised you have become a poet. Catch those words, and now try to assimilate it. Try to go deep into it. Because inspirational experiences are like you are going to have a mountain trip. Even from a distance, you see the top of the mountain. There are certain parts of the mountain that make you flutter. How wonderful it will be if I am there. Similarly, inspirational glimpses are as if you are having a glimpse of the heights of wisdom. that inspires. This form of experience awaits for every aspirant in different ways. Just as a worthless straw is agitated by the most gentle breeze, implying that even a gentle breeze can shake ordinary straw. It doesn't require a storm to come. Human mind without spiritual wisdom acts like a little straw. And even little things that are really gentle breeze. Somebody walked away without saying hello. Little things. And a person becomes shaken. But that I have given just a humorous illustration. Even things that seem not so gentle, yet from advanced point of view, adversities, from the time you are born, you have experienced adversity after adversity, diversity of adversity. And those adversities have strengthened you. So if one were to understand in a spiritual way and develop a spiritual sensitivity, then there comes an ability not to be broken-hearted because of adversity. Being shaken, that's one thing. Same word shaken is negative as well as positive. In a real spiritual movement, it's like a healthy tree. A healthy tree must allow itself to be shaken. As it shakes, nourishment goes into the root. Root becomes stronger. But being shaken with a strong root gives you a different flavor. The breeze that creates the shakenness or the wind is a welcome wind. The whole setting becomes a kind of a joyous effect on your heart. But if the root is not strong, then even a small little gentle breeze, even little thing has happened, and you exaggerate it by your imagination. The mind is inclined to catch something negative. Positive is boundless things are there, but positive doesn't, boring. So too are those who are devoid of intuitive wisdom, afflicted by the pettiest of adversities. But those who are enlightened are like mountains in the mighty winds of adversity, totally unshaken and unaffected. This point has to be understood in a profound way. Profound way means Though apparently your personality will be shaken, but in a deeper level, you are not going to be broken-hearted because of adverse situations. You will have patience, persistence, you will be drawn to satsanga, you will do every effort possible to remedy your trouble. In doing so, you will have a subtle understanding that God is behind it. Not only subtle understanding, you will not have ego affirmation that I am doing. You will feel yourself relaxed. All these points are progressive. How relaxed, how calm can you be? This matter of degrees as you advance. Ultimate goal is to become like mighty Himalayas. A village song that used to lead some people to some organization. It sings, खरा हिमालय बता रहा है, डरो न आधी पानी से. Himalayan mountain, towering over all, is declaring, do not be afraid of storm and rain. And that strength enters your heart. Therefore, an aspirant must cultivate the tree of knowledge in the depths of his heart. Tree of knowledge is an allegorical term. If you have developed faith and come to the guidance of Guru, you have found your base. Your aspiration becomes strengthened, roots have started. All the qualities, they become the branches. Shama, Dhamma, serenity, control of senses. The mind that is not distracted by worldly goals. Endurance, faith, an ability to maintain the mind unshaken in changing circumstances. All these are like branches of this wisdom tree. And this wisdom tree is tended to, watered and nourished by the study of scriptures and good association. Study of scripture, the swadhyaya. It also includes japa and prayer. That should become one's delightful, mystic hobby. And if you begin to experience that delight, you will be sharing it with others. Swadhyaya is never complete if you are studying just for yourself. Whatever you have studied, can you explain that to somebody? Now you begin to work upon, have I really understood? In other words, simple way of saying, by sharing your knowledge, you enrich your knowledge. But knowledge that is not shared gets fermented. So, when we say study scriptures, it has double aspect. Study and share. It's jnana yajna. But in order that your study becomes inspiring, you have to be practicing integral yoga in daily life. The more you allow your personality to be integrated, greater will be the same Gita will read and your eyes will open with inspiration. But if you are not well integrated, your mind will grab the words and you begin to match up those words with somebody else's words. And your mind will bring out, like Google, lots of talks. So it's called intellectual study. I'm joking, but both aspects are important. Only intellectual study should not be overpower your understanding. Otherwise, you are just dealing with palabras. And when we talk about good association, of course, the most recognized form is what you are having. You come together and you listen to spiritual teaching. Any such grouping or association called satsanga. But going to a little more advanced stage, satsanga is how to bring yourself in touch with inspiring awareness that all is Sat. All is the truth is behind all. What I'm leading you to understand, if you are alone sitting, if you turn your mind to your prayer, your japa, your thinking in a spiritual way, you become a source of satsanga for yourself. Being with people around you, near and dear ones, or whatever way, if you can create an impact, sometimes unwittingly, even if you are not saying anything, if you have charged yourself with spiritual understanding or any degree of spiritual peace and happiness, it's just like you have applied some fragrance scent on yourself. You move around saying, oh, I have no scent. But your inner experience of sattva, inner experience of peace and joy, or spiritual strength, they are creating their aroma. You have no idea how they are affecting others. And you don't have to. Flowers never worry about it. They simply blossom and waft. So all that is called good association. look at the same situation allegorically, same garden that you visit every day. Now, with spirit of satsanga, you become inspired sometimes by seeing just a little flower. And I will not extend too much, but the world around you gives you million sources of upliftment and inspiration. So the scriptures have gone on explaining. Dattatreya had 24 gurus. The 24 is just not a limitation. It's simply symbolic of countless gurus. This does not mean that you go after countless gurus without having a one central guru. If the tenacity and interest with which people run after the perishable objects of the world were directed towards the attainment of the treasure of prajna, intuitive wisdom, they would be enlightened in a very short time. Nothing more needs to be done in order to attain liberation. Simple point is being given. How human mind is so eager to go after wealth, to become prosperous. And whenever there is an occasion, the mind becomes very excited. And we begin to discover amazing strength and energy to go after the wealth. If you stay only at that level, worldly wealth, you are going after illusions. But if you had the same interest in recognizing the pearls of wisdom that lie hidden within your own heart, Daivi Sampat, the divine qualities that are instinctive for every soul, and allowing them to manifest. If your mind has tasted the delight of turning your anger into love, pride into humility, enjoying a mind with calmness, facing situations unshaken, enjoying the sweetness of divine surrender. If mind has tasted any one of these, this is more like jewels and pearls. They're amazing joy enters your life's movement, that you are living for purpose, but living to be enriched. Going after treasure, enduring troubles beyond measure. This doesn't bother anybody. Switch that. Going after true treasure. So day by day your intention should be, how can you be closer to God? How can you be free of mental agitations? How can you be more and more clear about the purpose of life? To have a clearer understanding. In technical terminology, how can you remove mala, gross impurities? How can you control distractions of the mind, vikshepa? And ultimately, how to remove the veil of ignorance. The dull-wittedness of the mind is the source of all misery and adversity. If mind is maintained in a dull-witted state, and you don't find any interest in controlling the mind, disciplining the mind, leading the mind to its enlightenment, if you have no interest in that, your life is extremely shallow, full of misery. It's called worldly life. Another way of saying the soul experiencing bhava vyadhi, disease of the world process. And this is the most terrible disease than any disease you have thought of. Because you are led from embodiment to embodiment. Atmahano Janaha Upanishad says. You become a serial killer. Already you have killed many embodiments, and I was not going to stop. So the tenacity and interest with which you go after worldly objects, allow that tenacity and interest to go after learning spiritual insights, gaining insight into sadhana, learning the art of meditation, being good, and ability to do good. Dull-wittedness is the seed of the world process. Technically, mudha-avastha of the mind. Mind that is dull, mudha-avastha, dull-wit. If mind is distracted, it's called kshipta-avastha. If mind is partially distracted, it's called vikshipta-avastha. If mind is concentrated, it's called ekagrata-avastha. Mind goes through different stages. And sometimes all these stages rotate in your mind. This dull-wit state must be ruthlessly destroyed by the practice of prajna. Don't take it literally, there's nothing ruthless about it. The idea is you must be intent upon removing dull wit, removing negative thinking. Whatever happiness is experienced by being an emperor of a vast kingdom, or by ascending the subtle worlds in the heavenly plane, all that and more is experienced by the possession of the treasure of prajna. Prajna is wisdom. And treasure is Daivi Sampat, divine qualities. So if you are developing divine qualities, you are becoming more and more settled in your own personality. How much settled? Deep in your heart, God is the reality. So, deep in your heart, you become united with God. That's the goal. If you have done, then you have attained Jivan Mukti, liberation in life. But again, being united is a progressive movement. If you have come closer to God and not completely united, we have a long way to go. But at least we have come to a stage of tasting the joy of God's touch. Once you have done it, you are practically enlightened. Once you have secured your state from where you cannot fall back, but as long as you have not secured it, you are subject to rise and fall. How rise? You can go to tremendous heights. You can go viral all over the world. Stay viral for 50 years. Alexander the Great. But all that does not give you real happiness. Your soul remains thirsty. But if you are moving towards enlightenment, then every state of prosperity is a solid experience. And finally, enlightenment itself is not in the realm of accounting. It's transcendental, beyond. When you study light in this Earth atmosphere, luminosity has many degrees. You can have biggest luminosity, biggest source of light on the earth, thousands of them, but they don't compare the sun. So if you have attained the sun, you have attained all these lights in their fullness. Through prajna, prajna is intuitional vision, intuitional experience. That's the direct awareness, I am that. Through prajna, even those who were like crows now soar like swans. All these are allegorical terms, but try to understand what's the difference between a crow and a swan. Crow makes a screechy sound, flies high, but higher it flies only to look at the prey. I'm not talking about prayer. Look at the in the muddy waters. Look at rotten bodies. So flying high is meant, how can I look at and go after those rotten things? That's crow mentality. And that's what you see in the world. People gone very high because of their power and their wealth, and they have become too low to have no human value. Bullies. That's the description of Kansa, Ravana, demoniac personalities. And they are crow. Swan, on the other hand, soars, goes high, but not looking down for rotten carcass. Goes high looking for Manasa lake, looking for beautiful lake with shining, transparent, clear water. And those who were like frightened jackals are now able to overpower even the most ferocious of lions. The spiritual movement enables you to give you that strength, the strength to face challenging conditions. And while facing challenging conditions, the power that helps you to do that is your faith in God. And that God-based faith has no limit of its strength. In simple way of saying, you are supported by divine hand, and you bring that in your experience, in your heart, and you develop that of simplicity of personality. Do your duties, don't let your mind stay with vexations. Rather, with the idea you are being led by God. And this is not an imagination. This is a reality that you are not aware of. When that happens, a change occurs in your inner strength. In the beginning, you were like a little jackal, little rabbit, frightened rabbit. Now you possess such a strength that even ferocious creatures, even the most challenging situations cannot shake you. Endowed with the armor of prajna, the sages are not affected by the arrows of greed, hate, pride. The world is full of those arrows, are as if coming from different directions. Put in a simple way, mind is drawn to malas, perverted desire, kama, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, kam, krodh, lobh, moh, infatuated feeling, mada, pride, matsarya, jealousy. These are highlighted terms. If you find other negative things, they are all included. All these malas are everywhere. They are everyone is subject to these gross impurities. But if you have developed that type of spiritual strength, see, these malas are like viruses. If you are weak, you become a prey to viruses. But who are internally strong with faith and devotion, all these cannot touch you. Jako rakhe sanya mar na sake hain koi. Once you have received divine protection through your devotion to God, the entire world and all its negative forces can do nothing to you. There is nothing in this world, nor in the heavens, that is not accessible to one who is endowed with prajna. Another point, if you have come to that state of realization, I am that, I am Brahman, the realization is not based on your ego. It is not the ego that comes to discover, but a deep down awareness. If you have come to that, then your experience is as if you have attained all that is to be attained. Otherwise, human mind is always dealing with it. So much I have attained, I have to attain this much more. So you are always never fulfilled with your attainment. But when you have realized who am I, as if now you have attained all that your mind was imagining and expecting to attain, and beyond whatever you were not expecting, all is fulfilled. Apta kama. Param tripti. Mind becomes absolutely fulfilled. Again, to be more correct, it is not the fulfillment of the mind. Your soul discovers absolute perfection. And just as a dark cloud that obscures the sun is easily dispersed by the mighty force of the winds, in the same way, cloud of egoism that obscures the vision of the self is dispersed by the mighty wind of intuitive knowledge. Section 18. The methods of mastering the mind. Sage Vasishtha continued, O Rama, by following the example of King Janaka, you too will become enlightened even in this very life. See, in this scripture, Rama is not being taken as incarnation. And that's a broad understanding. Otherwise, people will say, well, Rama was enlightened, incarnation, and therefore what Vasishtha said, he grabbed it here. Not so. Rama is presented as an aspirant. So you can follow the same illustration. What applies to Rama applies to every soul. Those who are rajas, sattvikas, those in whom rajas, principle of distraction, is dominated by sattva, the principle of purity. They attain self-realization in their present life. For them, the present embodiment is their last. The ideal setting is being given. Three gunas are always there, operating through every personality. If there is a lot of tamas, you are far from spiritual sadhana. If you have a lot of rajas, then again you are far from spiritual sadhana. You who have no rajas, only sattva, the question of spiritual enlightenment doesn't arise. You are enlightened. So, the ideal aspirant is one in whom there is plenty rajas, but rajas that is flowing towards sattva. To give you a more artistic simile, old-time lamp, think of a lamp, oil, wick and flame. Oil, look at the oil. Its progress is very slow. And if the oil stays as oil without channelizing through the wick, it's all messy oil. Same oil begins to flow through the wick. Now it has come to rajas level. Rajas that is moving towards sattva. Sattva is the light. Therefore, one should direct one's self-effort towards the practice of vichar, spiritual inquiry. Allow your rajas to create ideal setting for your spiritual practice. Rajas has to be there to keep you alert, look after your body so that you don't have to keep your mind involved only with your body. maintain health, maintain harmony with people around you, do your duties in such a way that you are not completely drowned in them. All that become in a healthy movement for practice of vichar. But without doing your duties, without resolving your mental stress, you simply sit back and say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. The whole world is Brahman. That will not be effective. Those who are terrified by the miseries of the world process cannot find refuge in destiny, or in karma, or in wealth, or in relatives. It's another allegorical expression. When you come to the state, proper state of being a spiritual aspirant, when aspiration has started with activity in your personality, you look at the world, and the world is full of misery. Now this is another way of understanding. This is not a pathetic state of mind. In low-grade state of mind, one sees everywhere misery. But that's a mental trouble. It's a mental sickness. If you become spiritually alert to your goal, now all those things that used to fascinate your mind, being rich, being good-looking, being this, being that, all that becomes a kind of a childish folly. And don't find anywhere in the world a seat of joy that where you can stay and live forever. The whole world is seen, even in the modern world, if your mind becomes alert, your whole world, the earth planet itself is never at rest. You are in an aircraft, going with big speed in space, hardly knowing it. And earth is not calm. All the inside the earth, so many things are happening. Outside in the atmosphere, countless factors. So therefore, broad understanding, your real goal is not here. Not in the world, which is full of pain. Now he cannot find refuge in destiny, or in karma, or in wealth, or in relatives. When you have come to that sensitivity of mind, then you cannot find your support. Generally, that's what happens. Generally, masses, whenever they are in trouble, they go to astrologer. An astrologer points that do certain things, certain special mantras, etc., and your destiny will be changed. So you have secured your good destiny. So you find refuge in your destiny. Nowhere else to go. You have to just wait for the destiny. Or you change your karma, because everything happens on the basis of your karma. Or human mind develops the idea, if you have wealth, you can get anything with it. Or having wonderful relatives. All this for common mind, these are the support. But if you have developed mystical mind, all this support means nothing. The real support is God within you. For them, the only refuge worth taking recourse to is spiritual inquiry aided by one's own self-effort. Those who seek refuge in destiny continue to be dominated by desire, anger, greed, craving. If you are dependent upon karma and the fruit of karma, led by your karma, destiny is what karma promotes. Destiny is not something dumped upon you, but it is evolved out of your karmas. And if you are caught by the world, then all your improvement, change, fulfillment of your dream is based on your karma. So you have to figure out what karmas should I, what changes should I make. But that is not so for attaining enlightenment. Enlightenment is not a result of karma, brings you changed conditions in the world of time and space. Enlightenment is not in the realm of time and space. So no karma can put you there. This doesn't mean that you should not do good karmas. You should do them, but don't develop the illusion that you will be happy in the world. You do good karmas to allow your mind to be free from anger, hate, etc. For purity. But those who take recourse to self-effort attain spiritual knowledge. Proper self-effort, again to be defined better, your effort to be sincere, to develop divine virtues. As you advance, your effort blends with divine grace. Because this is not an ordinary karmic effort, does not change your inner metal. Spiritual effort melts down your metal, purifies it, makes it golden. Simple point, your self-effort blends with grace and becomes dynamic. And your attainment of enlightenment, comes to you as spontaneously as a fruit that has fallen from the clear blue sky. The erroneous notion, I am the body, is like a dark night, which is dispelled when the sun in the form of spiritual knowledge rises in the firmament of one's heart. It's a very highly poetic literature. Constant notion in every individual about oneself is based on body identity. I am the body. But as long as you are dominated by this, you are as if in a dark night. You have no idea of what real joy awaits you. Because we are constantly, no matter what you gain, there is the umbrella of mortality. So just like dark night is dispelled when the sun rises, in the same way, the dark night of body identity is dispelled when you have spiritual knowledge. Aham Brahmasmi. I am all that is. I am Satchidananda. Spiritual inquiry dispels the mist of egoistic vision. Egoistic vision is called ahamkar. This is the worst car that you possess. When you practice inquiry, you don't go after, you don't get into that car. Egoistic vision is like mist that blinds your eyes or refracts your vision. Ahamkar is that like mist. Spiritual inquiry removes that mist. And when mist is removed, the sky is revealed in all its grandeur and glory. And with this I'm going to Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukbhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om.